welcome to our Clarity and Focus session today. Today we are doing pricing for profit, something that a lot of people struggle with. They talk to me about, how do we charge? How much should we charge? How do we make money out of this thing? I just want to welcome all of you here. There's a whole bunch of you sitting on. In fact, a couple of our champions actually here on this call, which is nice to see on here. We've got all the usual faces. We've got a few new faces here. So welcome to all of you on this call. So this presentation I'm going to walk you through. I'm going to talk about the different aspects of pricing strategy. And from there, I'm going to walk you through some of the things perhaps you need to be aware of right now in how people are accepting the pricing model. So I'm just going to, I'm going to get my screen up here. So let me just share screen. All right, so you should be able to see my screen right here. Somebody's chit-chatting away there. What's your chat? James says 3x. I'm going to show you more than 3x. I'm going to show you 10x pricing today. All right, so welcome to pricing for profit. So let me go through this. You need to value what you sell. If you don't value what you sell in the market today, then we've got a problem, right? Number one, personal pricing mindset. These are the things we're going to talk about. Personal pricing mindset, value-based pricing and commodity pricing, pricing methodologies, how we make buying decisions. So just to give you a perspective of how people are making buying decisions, why luxury and exclusivity is so highly valued. And by the way, the luxury market sales right now through the roof. In a recessionary moment where people are retracting and pulling in, right now, luxury brands are selling through the roof. Luxury brands are selling through the roof right now, which is crazy, 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 but it does. How to price for profit and bring in the Johnny Cash. That's what we're doing today. Just having a look, and I'm gonna ask you questions as we go. Michael says, seize the day. All right, carpe diem. All right, so let's get into it. Do you trust yourself? This is a question I often, in the back of my head, when somebody's talking to me about their product or their service or their offering, do they trust themselves? Are they confident in themselves? If you're not confident in what you have to offer, right? If you're not clear about the problem you solve, if you can't deliver a good to an outstanding result, you just got to be good. You don't have to be great. Just a good result to an outstanding result. And then why would you buy what you sell? So the question you have to ask for yourself is, why would me buy me, right? Or my product or my service? Why would I buy my agency services? Why would I buy what I'm selling, what I do at Consulting Unleashed with the champions that I work with, right? If you don't sell yourself on you, if you don't own what you sell, if you won't buy what you sell, then that's going to come across in everything that you do to a prospect, and that prospect will not buy. They will not buy because you don't own what you do, or you don't believe enough in what you do. So you need to own the price first, right? If you don't own the price, you can't expect anybody else to do that. And this is why we come in with this timid approach to pricing, right? We come in with a very timid approach to pricing. So if you don't own your value, then the customer will never buy from you. That's a very true statement. So personal pricing mindset, right? As a supplier, in almost all cases, goods and services are undervalued. And I'll tell you why I know this to be an absolute fact, right? So I had an agency, and one of the questions we used to ask, we literally asked this of more than 60,000 CEOs of companies. And we asked this question, and it used to be a question on our questionnaires. Do you feel that you undercharge for the service that you provide right now? Do you feel that you are undercharging for the service and the product that you are providing right now? And I will tell you that 97% of the people that responded to that answer said, yes, we are undercharging for what we deliver in the value. 97%. I'm talking CEOs of large corporations to smaller businesses. 97% said, yes, we undercharge what we value. And then I asked this question. I said, when was the last time in your product categories or in your service categories did you increase your prices, right? When was the last time? So about 10 to 15% had increased their prices within a 3-month period. Over a 3-month period, they've changed their prices, right? 50% had changed their prices, had an increase in that year, in that 12-month year, right? 50% of businesses had not changed their price for more than 3 years. Now the inflation hasn't changed. The pricing indexes haven't changed, right? Cost of goods hasn't changed. In fact, in many cases, they've gone up in terms of what they're delivering to the marketplace, right? All that hasn't changed, yeah? And yet they hadn't increased their prices in 3 years. So in our agency, what we did was we were price testing every 90 days. We would increase the price every 90 days. We would increase the price marginally, right? Not big increases, little increases, right? Till the point we got to where we got to increase our prices where we more than doubled our prices for the same service without adding any extra cost. We doubled our prices for the same service, and then we hit a brick wall. That's where we had the price resistance. So to increase our prices again, what we did was we added some more value, and then we increased the price. And so we then increased the price. But we price test every 90 days. Every 30 days, we test a price point on our product or service. We've always been increasing our prices. That's why our profit margins are through the roof, right? So price testing is very important. It's just like A/B split testing. So as a supplier, you need to own what you do. Okay, so the seller's more worried about the price than the buyer, right? Isn't it funny? The person who sells the stuff, your salespeople, if you're the salesperson, you're more worried about the price than the person who's buying the price, right? 95% of small businesses never test their pricing structures. Even larger businesses don't test their pricing structures, right? You want to be making sure that you're price testing for your services. Because I'll give an example. I have a friend of mine, Mike Rhodes, who's a legend in the AdWords community. Now he's got some clients that are paying him $50,000 a month for management services. 50 grand a month to manage AdWords campaigns, right? And then I see people who charge people $750 a month to manage an AdWords campaign. Now the budgets might be extremely different here, but the strategy in getting somebody to respond to an AdWords campaign isn't really that different, right? Following the process of having people to actually engage and connect with your buying process isn't that different. So you've got somebody down this end here and then somebody up this end here, and there's such a huge gap in the middle of the market. And sometimes being the premium priced product in the market sets you apart from every other Me Too in the marketplace. Just on price, you can differentiate in the marketplace, right? So that's a whole psychological conversation that I can get into, but I won't get into here. So most people never test their pricing structures. So they're always undercharged for what they do, right? So the money thought, the haves and the have-nots. This is a guy called Steven Siebold, author of How Rich People Think. Stop thinking about money in terms of fear and scarcity and start thinking about it through the eyes of freedom, possibility, opportunity, and abundance. This is a big problem that a lot of people have. A lot of people have a lot of friction around money. I have money stuff. Everybody has money stuff, right? There's a lot of people who have a lot of emotional feelings around how they see money in total, right? So this statement is so true. Stop thinking about money in terms of fear and scarcity and start thinking about it through the eyes of freedom, possibility, opportunity, and abundance, right? So this is very true. So I talk at a lot of conferences, a lot of seminars that I do out in the world, and oftentimes I talk about what the opportunities are. I've been invited to conferences where I look at niche markets and they say, hey, based on what you see, looking at the trends, what are the opportunities? And as part of that conversation, I talk about this mindset of being resourced or being under-resourced, right? So one of the things, imagine in a conversation with a client, I used to sit there and say, listen, if you under-resource me, I will guarantee you a mediocre result. But if you resource me correctly, I will guarantee you an outstanding result. You get to choose. So under-resource me, right? Under-resource me, don't give me enough to get the result, I'll guarantee you mediocrity. But if you resource me, if you give me the resources that I need to make this work, then I'll guarantee you an outstanding result. You get to choose. I don't get to choose, you get to choose, right? And so here's an example of that, right? So most people, if anybody's been in the solar market, especially if you're doing AdWords, it costs roughly between 70, depending on location, between 70 and up to sometimes $100 or more per click, right? So if you've got an ad budget of $1,500, right, you're going to roughly get about 10, 15 clicks. That's it, right? That's not enough to make an appointment. Right? A good marketing budget for a solar company is between $10,000 and $30,000 is where the average should be, because that's the sort of that budget is going to get you enough appointments, enough phone inquiries to be able to close those deals on those solar deals, right? So most people don't even have the right budget. And the other thing is when they're talking to clients, you're giving the client, say, hey, we need a minimum spend of this, right? You need a minimum spend of what actually is going to work for the client, right? So some budgets in some markets have got to be bigger. There are people that we work with, we say, hey, a $1,500 ad budget isn't going to work for you, right? For you to have an outstanding result, to get what you want and beyond, you've got to be spending 8 to 10 grand a month in Facebook ads. Not, you know, and from there, we want to take that 10 grand budget and scale that to 50,000 a month. And when we take that $50,000 budget, we want to scale that to $100,000 a month, because when we get it to $100,000 a month, you're going to be making millions of dollars, right? So understand that how you think about money, on how you approach this, right, through your eyes, right, is going to determine the outcome that you actually are reflecting on people who are dealing with you in the market. So this statement is so true. We've got to stop thinking in fear and scarcity, because those of you who remember Mother Teresa, who was a Carmelite nun, she was one of the most powerful women in the Catholic Church. She raised billions of dollars because she had to feed 3 million people per day. Her monasteries, her convents used to have to feed 3 million people a day. Well, I don't know about you, but it takes a lot of money to feed 3 million people. You can't be pious and feed 3 million people, right? And so Mother Teresa used to fly first class. She used to travel first class. She used to stay in presidential palaces. She was invited by government leaders, spoke at the UN. She was constantly at the leadership level in the world. And the only reason she flew first class and she flew private is because the people who fly first class and private have all the cash, right? And so she needed to be resourced to be able to feed 3 million people every day. And she did that for 60 years. Can you imagine, for 60 years of your life, having to be responsible for the feeding of 3 million people every single day, right? Phenomenal, right? So you need cash, right? We need, you know, charities are not going to survive by being scarce, right? The same thing with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Travels first class, stays in the palaces because he's raising money to support his people, his followers and his people, so they can have some sense of a home in the world, right? So he needs to raise billions of dollars worth of cash to be able to support the lives of his community and his followers. So understand that how we think about money is a big reflection on how we price what we do in the marketplace. So let's go. So primary purchase influences. Now I know this is a stat from 2013. However, it's still relevant today. If you look at what people are buying on, right, the more money they have, the decision-making process changes. So if they're at the low end of the market, let's say at that 49 grand, they're 50 grand. So think of a small business. So small businesses between $100,000 and $200,000, right? Their purchasing decision, about 40% of the decision is going to be based on price. But the majority of their decision is going to be based on the quality, the know, like, and trust of a brand, if there's loyalty, right? Look at the difference in the scale, right? At the top end, the people who have the most money are less about the price, but more about the brand, the quality, right? And are more about the store, or how they're the distribution and the loyalty that comes with that. So the more money that people have, right, the more they want to see the value. They want to connect with the value of the product or service. It's less about how much it costs. It's more about what it's worth to them, right? You know, if you ever go, and I'm going to use this as an extreme because I know people have actually done this. If you go to a Ferrari dealership and you go to the Ferrari guy and say, hey, let's do a deal on the Ferrari. And on the sticker price for a Ferrari California right now, it's $376,000, $376,000 for a base model Ferrari California if you go to a Ferrari dealership in the US right now. Right, 376,000. If you go to the guy, let's do a deal on a car. How much can you take off the money? Right. Here's what the sales guy is going to say to you. Hey, not everybody can afford to buy a Ferrari. The price is the price. The investment, the drive, the connection to this lifestyle. This is what we do here. Right. So at the end of the day, the price you're going to pay is the price on the sticker. There is no negotiating in buying a Ferrari. None. They don't shift. Don't budge. And that word states true. Like, first thing he's going to say, hey, look. A Ferrari is not for everyone. Not everybody can afford to buy one of these things. It's not for everybody, right? So it's not about the price. It's about the experience. It's about the level of excellence that goes into the quality of this product in the marketplace, right? So understand that even Louis Vuitton does not do discounts. Louis Vuitton, in the history of their business, have never done a sale. They don't do sales. They don't do discounts, right, in their stores. They keep to their pricing structures, right? That's not to say you can't buy Louis Vuitton goods at a discounted price from elsewhere, but you certainly, if you went to a store, you'll never see sales in a Louis Vuitton store. And they have built their brand to a multi-billion-dollar brand, right, in the last 12 years. Right, so understand prices is also elastic based on context. Customers' top priority according to, and this is to 2017, right? So superior product and quality, right? 31% over 26%, right? Excellence in service has gone up. Lowest price, right? Look at the lowest price. Trusting relationship, superior innovation, the brand, right? Superior product and quality outperforms pretty much everything because of people's perception of value. Quality of service over price, right? Quality of service over price. So buying value, right? 10% of the people always buy the cheapest. There is a market for the cheapest products on the planet. Let the buyer beware. If you buy cheap, you get cheap. You buy, you know what you're buying. You know what you're getting into. Oftentimes cheap costs you more money, right? I'll give you an example in the ad world. Cheap costs you more money. Because in the, let's say for the chiropractic market, chiropractors will switch their ad guy every 90 days because they're not spending enough money on their marketing. They're not looking at the results that they get for that marketing, not actually seeing what the strategy is, right? And so they'll just jump from agency to agency to agency to agency. And every agency is pretty much charging roughly about the same price, right? But then if you go to some of the agencies that I work with in the chiropractic market, they're charging chiropractors $3 to $5 grand a month, not $1,500, not $1,000. $3 to $5 grand management fee or more, depending on what they're doing. We're in our agency are doing more than that, up to $6,000 to $10,000 a month, right, for management fees. Yeah, the cheap 10% of the market will always buy the cheapest, right? 10% of the market will always buy the most expensive. They understand value. They want to get it done. They want the best, and they'll buy the best. They'll say, "What's the best thing? I want the best thing." 10% of the market, 1 in 10 people will buy a premium product or service. So if you don't have a premium product or service to sell to that 10%, they can't buy it, right? Number two, 80% of people will buy the price in the middle. 80% of people will buy based on value. Otherwise, Nike, otherwise, Adidas, Puma, New Balance, all these companies, all these shoe companies, all these sneaker companies wouldn't have sneakers priced at above $200 a sneaker, because I can go to Kmart and I get a pair of sneakers for $20 or $15, but it's not Nike, it's not New Balance, it's not the brands, right, in the marketplace. You know, if there's a company called Veo, you know, they're selling sneakers. They're recyclable material sneakers. They're selling their sneakers at $200 a pop, right, for a sneaker, right? But their whole brand value is around using reusable, recyclable products, and you know, they've built a whole fashion brand around their sneaker product. 80% of the market will buy the middle price. You have always, I would imagine, as I do, you want nice things. You want things that are good quality. You want things that have value. You want things that you want to have, and you're willing to pay more for them, right? You're willing to pay more for them because it costs $5 for Nike to put a shoe in a box. $5, but we will pay from $100 to $250, $280 or more. Right, there's a few stores right now where you can get the custom Nike shoes. They're selling shoes at up to $800 for a pair of Nikes, but it only costs $5 to make them, right, in the marketplace. So perception of value is really, really key. 80% of the market will buy, will go and step up to the next price because they have a perception of value. So think about that in your pricing options. Perception of value and comparison. So we've all seen tables like this, right? I like the option of yes or yes, not yes or no. So if you give people one price, it's a yes or no answer. If you give people two options, we've got the basic option here, and then we've got the option that everybody buys. This is the one that everybody takes advantage of because it provides more value, but it is at double or triple the price, right? So then you let the customer choose. So which would you prefer? Which do you believe will suit you best? Oh, I'll take the one that everybody else is taking. I'll take the higher priced one. Right? So understand that we've all seen these sorts of things, these types of strategies. People will spend more because they have that perception of value, right? And if you highlight where the value is, people will gravitate towards the value of the pricing point as opposed to the cheap price in the marketplace. Okay, so this is from the E-Myth, Michael Gerber. Highly recommend this book if you ever go and get E-Myth or E-Myth Revisited. Anything that Michael Gerber has written in the last 30 years is worth spending money on. But he did this thing where If you sell your product or service at a gross profit of 40%, so you've got a 40% margin on your gross profit, right? And if you offer a discount of 5%, if you drop your price by 5%, you need to sell 14% more to make the same dollar amount of gross profit. So to keep the same amount of money, you actually have to spend more. But here's the thing, and I've tested this, and I've asked businesses, and I've even done this with agencies. Whenever you've dropped the price on a product, did you increase the sales by more than 30%? Right? Whenever you drop the price by 10%, if you discounted, right, did you get 30% more customers? Did your conversion rates improve by 30% by doing a price reduction of 10%? Now, the answer is no, no. So here's the thing, right? That means we've got to sell 1/3 more to make the same break even or the same money that we did before we dropped the price, right? 1/3. Now, I've actually done this in a retail environment. I've tested this in service-based environments, and people have actually gone and done packages, right, to actually try and see if they could incentivize buying services on prices. They never get the same volume if they actually stuck to their price and went and sold that to the market. They never get the extra customers. They never get more sales. They never do, because they're not making the profit margin. Or if they do make the sales, the profit margin doesn't marry up to the return they get on their investment. Yeah. Somebody's asking a chit chat on the question here, so let me just respond. Increasing prices by these percentages means you need to sell less. Absolutely, absolutely. Increasing your prices means to make the same money, you got to sell less. But here's the beautiful thing about increasing prices, right? If you increase your price, any dollar value that you add to the pricing structure is pure net profit, because it hasn't cost you any more to deliver. So that's money that you put straight in your back pocket. That's free money, yeah? So let's go on. Okay, pricing considerations: cost of goods in time and money resources, distribution costs, support costs, marketing costs. A lot of people don't take into consideration in our world all of these costs in pricing out. Anybody here, I'd love to ask this question. Does anybody know how much it costs them to acquire a customer? How much money in ad spend, how much time, energy, how many hours? Have you worked out how much it costs you to acquire a customer? Because that's something you definitely want to know. Anybody done that? Anybody worked out? So right now, in our agency, we were spending $4,500 to buy one physical therapy customer. So we knew that if we wrote a check for $4,500, we would get a client that's paying us between $50,000 and $60,000 from 4,500 deals. How many people would spend $4,500 to get a $60,000 deal? Just type 1. If you knew you could write a check for $4,500 and you knew at the end of that check was a $60,000 deal, how many all day long? Yeah, James says, I'd write that check all day long. Absolutely. But unless you know the number, you can't write the check. You've got to find out what the number is, right? And you also got to take into consideration all the costs. How many people here are charging their hourly time into the fee that they charge for the services? How many actually have costed out how many hours you spend with a client? I'm going to show you some really cool numbers in a moment that are going to freak you out, right? So how many people here actually add their time cost into the fee of the service? Type 2 if you do that, right? Type 2, nobody. Isn't that interesting? Nobody actually adds their time. Somebody does. Mark, put your time cost in there. So if you spend 10 hours with a client, Mark, are you charging that client $3,000 for 10 hours of your time? Because that's the retail of your time at $100 an hour, right? That's the thing you want to be looking at. So but most people don't take into consideration the cost of goods, right? So I want to give you an example, a high fashion bag, just to give you what the price is. This is something that's on the internet right now. This is a fashion brand, a very popular fashion brand. I had to hide who the brand was for the sake of being mindful that I'm not allowed to share their brand online without their permission. But here they've got a bag, right? And it's a $1,490 bag. So manufacturing cost of this bag, roughly $200 to $300. Wholesale markup, 150%, takes it to $900 plus. Retail markup, probably 20% to 100% depending on where you're going. So $600 on top of that. And so the bag at retail is going to be between $1,800 to $2,500 at retail. But the cost of manufacturing that bag is $200. And notice that there's marketing costs, right? In that wholesale markup, in that cost, that's where your marketing costs are. So we go from a $200 bag to a $2,500 bag, right, really quickly to incorporate marketing cost. Because if you, and by the way, for some brands, 30% of their revenue goes to marketing cost in their product. I know LV spends more than 30% of its revenue just on marketing and branding. Yeah. but it makes them billions of dollars, right? So think about pricing options and how or what sort of pricing costs you want to do this. Somebody asked me, are there people selling websites, right? Really high prices. By the way, some of my champions are selling websites at 50 grand for a website. $50,000 for a website, 25,000, 30,000, 50 grand for a website. So here's a company that's selling websites to consultants, to people like us, right? So their gold package is $38,000 for a website. Their platinum package is $49,000 and the diamond package is $64,000. And these aren't WordPress sites. These are static sites. But consultants, if you go to the website, I don't have the website. The website is not called $1 Million Website. It actually belongs to somebody else. But if you go to the website, you will see about 200 consultants around the world spend a minimum of $38,000 on a website. People like you and us are buying websites to acquire customers at a premium level in the market. And this is happening today. I know Mike, I know one of the people that I work with, Quinn, her average sale for a website is 150 grand. She charges you $10,000 to have a conversation about your website. That's her fee. So upfront, you've got to give her 10 grand and then she'll do a blueprint for your website. At the end of that, she's going to charge you a minimum between $150,000 to $250,000 for your website. That's what she gets for her website in her design team, right? But when I first met Quinn, she was charging people $2,800 to build a website. $2,800 was what her website price was 5 years ago. Today, not a single website under 150 grand. Not a single website under 150 grand. And she does a lot of websites. And she works remotely and she's got a remote team. She's got a team of about 5 people. She's got an amazing branding agency, but her clients pay big dollars for websites, right? So how much does it cost to build a website? So what is your effective hourly rate? So one of the things is you want to calculate your gross profit divided by the number of hours you work, and that's going to give you your effective hourly rate. So think about this. If you make $1,000 gross profit and you work 60 hours, right, to build, let's say, build a website, right? So we got 10 divided by 60, you're making 16 bucks an hour to build a website. So I can go work for In-N-Out Burger for 16 bucks an hour and not have any stress, right? But this is the mentality. This is what people are charging. If you're not looking at your margins, you're not looking how much you're charging for the service and looking at what profit you get to keep, you've got to think about how much you're going to get to keep out of that. Now, if I'm not the person delivering and 60 hours worth of work is somebody else's work, I'm going to make half of that. So now I'm making 8 bucks an hour, right? So effective hourly rate is something that most people want to be working at for their business. So consulting pricing, right? Ideal pricing rule, whatever the cost of goods is, triple the price. Not double the price. Double the price is a 50% increase on markup. Triple the price is 100% on markup. Triple the price is 100% on markup. Because if, let's say, if the service cost me $1,000 and I charge $2,000, then I get to keep $1,000 and there's a cost of $1,000. That's 50%. So if I want to make 100% on margin at retail, I've actually got to charge 3 times the price. That way, the $1,000 goes back to the person, and now I'm making 2 grand instead of 1 grand. Right, so pricing needs to be focused on 3x. So service costs $1,000, you price it at 3 grand. That's 100% on cost, right? If your hourly rate is 100 bucks per hour, if you're charging $100 an hour for your time, you need to sell it out at $300 an hour. So back in the day, when I was a younger person, right, I worked for a major consulting firm. So they were paying me about 90 bucks an hour. They were paying me $90 an hour, but they were charging me out, right? They were charging me out at 500 bucks an hour. So the company would make $400 for every hour that I worked for them. I was getting 90, they would get $410 out of every hour, right? So the cost of goods, my cost was 90 to them, but their cost of sale was $500 to the client, right? So understand that if you price yourself, or if you've got a fee, and by the way, if you're an expert, 100 bucks an hour is still too cheap, right? Where your hourly rate should be, or what I would like to see as my hourly rate, and one that I work on, is I want to be paid at least 1,000 bucks an hour. That's what I want to work on, right? But your hourly rate, you've got to have a fee for your hourly rate. Really important, right? So SaaS costs. I want to give you an example of different cost indicators that go into developing. This is why software is so expensive, right? And I've built a couple of software businesses, but I just give you an example of the costing structures. So developers, so here's your costs, right? Developers, UI designers, serving, hosting, and bandwidth. So if you've got video and stuff like that, you're going to be chewing up bandwidth. Security, compliance, legal, support, help desk, training, marketing, advertising, merchant costs, administration. Then the other thing I haven't put in here is any affiliate commissions that go into this as well. They become a cost as well. So lots of costs in developing a SaaS product in the marketplace, right? The recurring revenue model. All of us here love the idea of charging people every month and making money every month. This is a great model. However, one thing I want to share with you is all customers leave. All customers leave. So some customers are going to stay with you for a month, 3 months, 6 months, gone. Some customers are going to stay with you for a year, 2 years, 3 years. The longest customer I've ever had was 17 years. That was the longest client I ever had. 17 years is amazing that I had that person that long. That was the longest client. And that client spent a lot of money with me over those 17 years, right? But that is very rare. So all customers leave. So the recurring revenue model means that you have to be constantly selling. You can't stop selling. You have to keep bringing in because you're going to lose clients as you're bringing clients in, right? Let me ask you, how many people here have been in a situation where 2 or 3 clients leave and that puts you in a drastic cash flow issue? Anybody experience that? Just type chat, just type 2 if that's happened to you. All of a sudden you've got a few clients, 2 clients leave, and it's pressure, immediate pressure on your business. We've got a few people chatting here. Yeah, a lot of people have had clients leave, right? Right? Everybody's done that. The problem with that, and this is the thing, and this is where the lesson needs to be learned, right, is that you need to make it harder for a client to leave, right? You need to build an emotional connection with your customers so that it's very hard for them to decide to cut you off, to stop with you. But if you have no emotional connection, if you don't indoctrinate, onboard, work with your clients closely, then of course there's this thing that's called perceived indifference and they're going to leave, right? And this is why you need to be continually bringing on clients. And that's why I say, if you're running a business like we're running here, the minimum that you want to be doing is 3 clients a month. That's the minimum, right? I work with people who are bringing on 5 and 10 and 15 clients a month, right? But the minimum is 3, 1 client every 10 days, right? 1 client every 10 days. Now, if you were doing that, if 1 or 2 clients left you, it wouldn't kill you, wouldn't crush you, right? But this is the problem we have in this small business mindset, is we're not thinking for what we need to do in the long term to make sure we secure our business. And this is why the recurring revenue model, it's very attractive, but it's also very dangerous, right? So always have an initial setup fee, e.g. 2K to 10K. You should always, for those of you who are not charging a setup fee for your services, you should be, and this is why. So when we always charge a setup fee. We charge $8,000 for a setup fee for a funnel. And by the way, we rent a funnel. We don't sell the funnel. We rent it. They don't own it, right? They don't own the funnel. We rent the funnel, right? So we charge them $8,000 to set up the funnel, right? Then we charge them monthly recurring on top of that. So you always need a setup fee. If you don't have a setup fee, and also a setup fee is a good bargaining chip. A setup fee is where you can actually provide some value for the client. Don't do free setup, right? If you're going to do free setup, then you need to let the client know that they're saving $2,000 or up to $10,000 for your setup. Because here's the thing. Think about what goes into helping put together a Facebook campaign. I've got to think about the strategy. I've got to craft the offer. Then we've got to look at the copy. Then we've got to look at the creative. Then we've got to put the ad into the ad management account. Then we've got to optimize the ad campaign. Then we've got to do some split testing just to launch the campaign. Now we're going to do that all for free. Bullshit, right? We don't do that for free. We should be charging for that setup, because all your IP, your intellectual property, your strategy goes into making sure that campaign works. There should always be a setup fee, right? So that's one way to pick up extra cash. Very, very important, right? Somebody's just chit-chatted. Somebody's giving me a link here. So understand, always have a setup fee, right? Number 2. Then your monthly fee. Monthly fee on average. So I'm just going to give you a perspective. Every single person here, if you want to make money in this business and stay in business and survive, your average client needs to be investing $25,000 to $30,000 a year in your services. The lifetime value over a year, the minimum lifetime value is between $25,000 and $30,000 plus. Anywhere above that is even better, right? But if you're making $25,000 a client, it's going to be very hard for you to actually scale and make profit on the market. So monthly fee, 2K, average fee in the marketplace is $1,500 to $2,000 1,500, 2,000, between 1 and 2,000 is the average fee in the low agency market, right? That's why there's so many people getting into this thing, because they think they can make some quick cash, but that's a whole lot of hooey, right? So monthly fee from 2 to 10K per month, right? Initial installment, 3K, and then 3K per month. So this gives you an example, right? 3K down and then 3K per month. So actual fact, that's 39,000, not 36,000. So it's $36,000 per annum for the client, but plus the 3K means that client for a year, if they stick with you for a year, it's $39,000. Now, we sell a 12-month program. We don't do month on month on month open contract. We get people to sign up for 12 months because we call it a system, a program. It's not monthly advertising fee, right? So because the actual campaign is $36,000 if we look at the pricing on the screen, right? The campaign is not $3 grand a month. You're paying 36 grand for all of this. And so we're financing this for you, making it easy for you to do this and get a return on investment. That's a different framework or way of thinking about it, okay? So recurring revenue model. 3 clients at 3K per month, that's $108,000, right? 3 clients at 5K per month, annualized revenue, 180K. 3 clients at 10K per month is $360,000 in recurring revenue, right? So that's only with 3 clients. So if you charge 3K per month and they stay with you for a year, that's 108,000. 5K per month, they stay with you for a year, that's $180,000. At $180,000, all of you here are living a lifestyle. 3 customers paying you $5 grand a month is 180 grand, amazing lifestyle, right? That's lifestyle money, right? That's a good mortgage. That's a nice car. That's a nice holiday. That's working part-time. 3 clients, $5 grand a month is working part-time, right? 3 clients at 10K per month, 360 grand. That's a recurring revenue model, okay? So productize with packages. So I'm going to give you an example. So package 1, PPC, 1 to 2K setup fee, $800 a month. This is a very low package. Management and ad spend about $1,800, right? Package number 2, 2 to 3K setup, $1,000 a month for management, $5,000 for ad spend. This is a low package, right? Package number 3, 5 to 10K for setup, 5K per month management fee, $30,000 in ad spend, right? You can package your processes and give people options, right? In that pricing process. Most people have a cheap price. Most people here, I make a joke out of this. I joke about it to my champions. I say, you've got a poverty pack. Whatever price you're charging right now is your poverty pack, right? That's the cheap price, right? Because we know we're undercharging for what we do. And if we're undercharging, that means we're giving the cheapy price, we're giving the poverty pack. What we want to do is we want to have a value package, right? The one that is actually going to work for the client. So this just gives you an indication, an idea. By the hour or by the project, right? So fact, if you charge by the hour, you're going to cap your income and you are a slave to time. I know there are agencies, in fact, one of our champions who joined us about 4 months ago, they joined us 4 months ago, they were charging clients by the hour. So if they had a team working on a project, they would actually bill by the hour for the respective team to that client. And a lot of agencies, by the way, do charge by the hour. They're not charging by a fee. The problem with that is it caps it out, it caps you out. So if you're charging, let's say you're charging $100 an hour, right? And let's say your effective working rate is 20 hours a week, because you're never going to bill out full time, right? When I was working in the consulting firm that was paying me, right, my billable time was we had to get a billable time of about 75% of our time. And let me tell you, we struggled to do billable hours at 75%. We struggled, right? Because that means out of every 40 hours, we were working 30 that we could bill to the client. And that wasn't easy to do, right? So if we say 20 effective billable hours a week, that's $2 grand a week, right? You're making 100 grand a year, but you're working your ass off. You're going to be working 40 to 60 hours for 200 grand, right? And you're going to cap out. You can't increase your hours because you've only got certain hours to deliver, right? You can increase your prices. That way you're going to make more money, but it's not a leverage play, right? So if you charge by project, you're going to leverage your time and dramatically improve your profits, right? Charging by project, you're going to dramatically improve your profits. So pricing by project, I'm going to give you an example of project pricing, right? So email marketing campaign for a client. This is one that I put together, right? Associated cost with a copywriter, sales copy, 6 to 12 autoresponders is going to cost me about $1,000 to $2,000. That's the fixed cost, right? Set up a landing page, graphic designer, autoresponders, set up about $1,000 to $2,000. Campaign monitoring and adjustment, about $1,000 for that. Cost of goods sold, $3,000 to $5,000. So the average sale is 3 to 5 grand, right? So I would price this at $9,000 to $15,000, and I would add a 5 to 15% profit share in the campaign. So for every sale they made from my campaign, from my email marketing campaign, I would get a sliding scale. The more successful the campaign, the more I got paid. So it incentivized the pay. So I would charge to do this $9,000 to $15,000, and then I would charge them a bump of $5,000, a 5% to 15% sliding scale per item sold, right, in the market, right? So client value. Now get this. So luxury bathroom company, right? Average sale $40,000. Their average sale is 40 grand. Gross profits in the sale about $13,000. Net profit approximately to the owner of the business. They made about 3 grand net in the back pocket after tax out of a $40,000 kitchen, right? So they had a database of 1,500 people. A 1 to 3% conversion rate to quote, right, is 15 to 45 quotes. Sales conversion is an average of 33%. That means approximately 5 to 14 sales at $200,000 to $560,000 in revenue, right? That's the client value. So big question, right? Is it worth investing $9,000 to $15,000 plus a 5% of the gross to make $60,000 to $168,000 per month in gross profit, right? Is it worth to invest that to make that outcome in gross profit? The answer is always going to be yes, right? That's a 500% to 12% return on investment in the strategy, right? At $9,000 to $15,000 plus a 5% investment, that's awesome value, right? So software, problem, insufficient reporting system, double entry, wasting time, poor communication, structure, costing company. This is a problem, right? Solving the problem on price. In the following manner, right? So people and time costs. 4 people spending 6 hours a day manually entering data. 4 times $50 per hour, 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year. The cost of actually doing this is $312,000 per annum, right? So transport, distribution to multi-locations, $50,000 a year. These are the costs that the company incurs in the problem, right? This is a company that I worked with. The equipment and maintenance over $60,000, right? So approximate cost per year, right, is they were going to spend $422,000 in manual labor over a 5-year period. It was going to cost them $2.1 million in costs when you break down the costs, right, for them. So what should we charge, right? So dev support, training, implementation cost, $30,000, right? Ongoing monthly support upgrade, $500 to $1,000 per month, as in support for software. Low price, $100,000 plus $2,000 a month for support. And you make approximately $82,000 in gross profit for managing the project. That is exactly what I charge the client, and I'm not a coder, right? So what can you charge based on realized value in a business, right? Every dollar you save a company goes to their bottom line net profit, which is worth approximately between 3 to 5 times value to the business. So for every dollar you save or make a company, right, it's worth $3 to $5 in value because because it's net, not gross profit. A dollar saved or a dollar made is net, right? You've got to pay tax on that, but it's money you get to keep, right? There's no physical cost in the dollar saved, dollar make, right? So if I save a company $200,000 in net value, I effectively add $600,000 to $1 million in value to the company. If I save you 200 grand, right, by cutting down your costs, and I make a significant impact on your business, right? On this project, I'd be looking at a price point of $200,000 plus a $40K to $50K per annum for support on the project. $200,000 on the project plus $40 to $50K per annum for support on the project, because the company was going to save, literally in 5 years, they're going to save more than $1 million in 5 years. $200,000 a year they're going to save. So you're going to save 200 grand to spend 50. And knowing that that $150,000 that you get to keep, right, is pure net profit that you can hire more people, spend on the business. This is strategy thinking here, right? So you set the price of the rules when you sell your services. The client doesn't know your price until you show it to them, right? You don't articulate the value. You always ask for what you're truly worth, right? And these are the action points. Value your skills, write down who can benefit the most from them, choose a target and work to high value customers. There's less competition in the higher value markets. Companies that have got big budgets, ad budgets and marketing budgets to spend, there's less people targeting those types of companies. There's more people, there's more money sitting out there for all of you to collect at the higher level of the market, rather than lower level of the market. At the lower level market, those people don't have the right budget. So the effectiveness of your campaigns is going to be marginal in a lot of cases. Now, that's not to say, just to give you perspective, it's okay to be the cheapest in the market as long as you're making a good profit margin on being the cheapest. And if that's your competitive advantage, then you're only going to attract buyers that buy you on that commodity of that pricing. So there's nothing wrong with being the cheapest in the market as long as you're making money, right? as long as you're profitable. However, if you want to differentiate yourself in the market, you want to find a spot in between the gaps, in between the middle and the bottom, in between the middle and the top, or go above the top. Become the premium provider in the marketplace and be the most expensive in the marketplace. One of my mentors, a guy called Alan Wise, he wrote a fantastic book called The $1 Million Consultant. And I sat down with him, and in this conversation we were talking about, because he loves a classic car. The guy drives around in, he has like a few Rolls Royces, he's got a few Ferraris, Lamborghinis. He's a car collector, right? And he sat there and he said, listen, he says, you might think it's pretty douchey to rock up to a client's place in a Ferrari or in a Rolls Royce, right? You might think that that's arrogant in some ways, that because the client is sitting there thinking, I'm paying for that Rolls Royce, right? I'm paying for this consultant in the Rolls Royce. He says, that's not how I think about it. I think about it in the way that they want to hire the guy who actually rides around a Rolls Royce. There's a reason. This guy knows the best, wants the best, and is the best. And so one of the things that Alan used to say to people is, I'm going to be the most expensive consultant you've ever hired, right? I'm the most expensive guy in the market, over and above all my competitors. I'm the guy, right? If you want the guy that is the best, then you've got to pay the price. You've got to pay the investment to get the best, right? He has never had to haggle on price in the history of his business. He's still consulting today, lives in Hawaii, has clients all over the world, works for Fortune 500, has been consistently generating amazing revenue in his consulting business. It's just him. He's an independent consultant, always generating millions and millions of dollars in sales every year in consulting as an independent consultant. Drives around in his Rolls Royces and Ferraris because he's the best, and he wants people to know that he is the best. So branding in that market. So sometimes you can actually be the top of the market, be the most expensive. There's a fantastic book, magazine. It's called The Rob Report. Everybody should get this magazine at least once. So Rob, R-O-B-B Report. The Rob Report is a magazine just for rich people, right? It's a magazine full of stuff that rich people will buy. Islands, tricked up cars, the $500,000, $1 million cars, chocolate for $1 million, $1 million for chocolate in the Rob Report, and there's advertisers. The companies that are advertising in that magazine are companies that need your help. Right, that's a great prospecting tool, because to do a full page ad in the Rob Report is not cheap. It's not cheap because the market who buys out of the magazine, the majority of people who buy the Rob Report are people who are wealthy. The subscribers are people who are wealthy because they want to know what wealthy people are buying, and so they want to splash the cash, right? So double your current prices. If you can't double your current prices, what I would highly recommend is you incrementally increase your prices by 20%. So the next price, when you sit down with a client tomorrow or the next day, and you sit down with them and you're about to put that price on that slide deck or on your proposal, whatever number you put down, rub it out and put 20% on that price, and that's the new number. The next time you sit in front of another prospect, you're going to do the same thing again. You're going to increase the price, the past price to the next price, you're going to increase by 20%, right? That's what we're going to do, incrementally increase our prices, because most people are afraid to double their prices, right? If a client says to you, says you offer the price, and they jump on and say, yep, great, let's do it, that you know then that you're too cheap. If you had clients say to you, wow, I thought it was going to be more expensive now, you know then you're too cheap. They would have paid more, right? So don't deal yourself out of money. Make sure you do your costings correctly. Make sure you're making money out of the deals that you're cutting for yourself. And most people, let me tell you, in our world are not. I was sitting down with a $2 million a year agency. They were running $170,000 a month in recurring revenue, and every month they were losing $10,000. So at the end of the year, they're going to lose 120 grand, but they're running a $2 million agency. And the reason why is because their costings were wrong. They kept on adding services, and they didn't actually put the cost of what it cost to deliver those services. So all of a sudden the cost became more than what the client was paying, right? There are businesses that I know out there, $5, $10 million agencies, that aren't making any money. They're doing 5 to 10 million revenue, 500,000, right, to $1 million a month in revenue, and not making profit. That's insane. You can't do that for too long, right? So you need to know your costings. Look to build monthly retainers. You want to get into monthly retainers because that's cash flow, but you also want to do by project as well. Take on projects. If a client says to you, hey, we want to do this for 6 months, then take it on for 6 months, and at the end of 6 months, do a review. If a client says, so project deals are great deals because they help you to improve your skills and your experience in the marketplace. Don't just go recurring. Have a mix of things. In our agency, we sell training, $10,000 a day to do training. We sell products. We sell info products, $12,000 for video training products, online training products. We sell customer service sessions where our customer success people will come into and do training, do specific layout and strategy and work on the actual practice and look at ways that they can improve. We charge for that, right? Nothing's free. We have 10 products that we charge for in the marketplace. And we do the recurring billing in the product as well, right? In my services, in my agencies, we've always had other products that we sold, not just recurring revenue, right? Because at the end of the day, we just sold strategy. A strategy session for us was anywhere between, on average, between $10,000 and $15,000 to a strategy session. That's what we were selling. That's without doing any other work after that. And that was just sit down to ask a whole bunch of questions that were relevant to the client to give the client the necessary ideas and thought processes to prioritizing the things that are going to make a direct impact to that business. And we would charge people 10 grand, 15 grand. Some of my champions right now are charging between $6,000 and $8,000 to have a conversation. They're charging for strategy sessions. Maybe that's something I can share on how you can do that in some coming trainings. So with that, I'm going to open up to some questions. Always check and work your cost benefit ratio. If you haven't done this already, go to consultingunleashed.com/go. That gives you access to the Facebook group. That gives you access to this webinar that happens every single day at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. You can access this every day. These recordings are being placed in the YouTube channel. They're placed in the Facebook group. So if you want to go back and get these recordings, I am providing to you every single day. So what I want to do is I'm just going to escape out of the this, stop sharing, come back to you. Let's have chit chat. If you've got any questions. Doesn't everyone pay for $1 million of chocolate? So potential client wants advising services instead of the implementation. How much should I charge to get the client on board? How much? Well, first of all, Mark, how much do you want to charge? You know, I can't tell you what to charge because I don't know what the client is. I don't know what their average sale is. I don't know what they want from you. If it's a retainer, you know, anywhere between $3,000 and $5,000 a month, $3,000 and $5,000 a month. So you want to charge $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month, you make the offer. Mark, what should you charge? Charge what you want to charge. Think about how many hours you're going to spend with that client. Divide the number of hours based on your hourly cost, 3x the price, and that's how much money you should charge the client. Yeah. 1 day a week or once per week? Once per week. So that's what, 1 hour conversation? 1 hour a week? I've just increased my price to 10% in the last 30 minutes. Mate, I'd be charging a minimum of a couple of grand a month for that. If you're giving direct advice to help them with implementation, you're probably going to give the client, you know, you're probably going to give the client about an hour of your time in that process. You know, depending on, you know, if that's 4 hours in the month. So yeah, I'd be charging a couple of grand minimum just for a conversation. You know, because it depends on what you're going to ask them to implement. You know, if they're asking you, if it's just ideas, then it's just time. Yeah. If there's no implementation, if you're getting them to implement, you're keeping accountable for their implementation. If you're guiding them to where they get their, you know, get the services done, then that's different. So yeah. Any other questions? I've got a whole bunch of people on here. It's good to see some familiar faces. House, good to see you here. Tim Berry, awesome to have you. Trent, as always. Steve, Trent, you're on vacation, man. I don't know why you're on here every day. You should be recharging rather than listening to my voice, my friend. Stephanie, nice to have you here. There's a new name. Peter, good to see you, man. Peter Schultz, I haven't seen that name for a while. Good to see you here. Malcolm, we know where you live. James, Howard. Steve, I see that many agencies price PPC and ads based on ad spend. What is my opinion on sliding pricing? Yes, the average is 20% of ad spend. So, but you've got to have a client, you know, if you want to make $1,000 a month on management, then you've got to have a client that's got to be spending at least $5 grand, which is pretty there's still a bit of work involved in that. So my minimum on management would be like, if you've got a $5 grand ad budget, my minimum would be $2 grand, right? That I would charge for management. But then I would then on the sliding scale, if you've got a 30 grand ad budget, well, then you can charge a client $6 grand a month. Yeah, 20%. So yeah, you can do that. I've got a client that does pay per lead. And he gets way more than that. Like he'll sit down with the client, work on a strategy. They'll do the landing pages. He'll ask the client, what do you want to pay per lead? Right. And the client will say, I want to pay $50. I want to pay $100. Great. How many leads do you want? I want 30 leads. Great. You know, I want, you know, that means you're going to pay between $5,000 and $8,000 a month. Give me $5 grand. I'll go get you the leads. Right. And then what they do is they go run their campaigns, and whatever the margin is between, which can be quite significant, by the way. Sometimes it can be, the cost might only be about 15%, and they get to keep 75%. Sorry, they get to keep 85%, which is huge profit. I have a friend of mine that just does cost per lead. It's a great model, great business model, because there's no risk to the client. The client gets a guaranteed lead for the money, and then they just keep banging. The clients will just go, yep, let's go again, let's go again, let's go again. So the average client is spending, I think the lowest package they offer is like 10 grand a month is their lowest package. The average percentage, I think their cost is roughly between 30 and 40% max. So they're making a gross profit of 60%, which is freaking awesome, considering that you get to keep 6 grand out of every client that's paying you 10 grand a month. That's amazing. Yeah. So that's another model. Trent says lifelong learning never stops. Yes. What ROI minimum should you be looking to generate for a client? If somebody spends $10,000 with me, I want to give them 100 grand back. 10 to 1 is what I'm looking for. So if you were to spend $10,000 with me, Adam, I will actually work my backside off to make sure you get $100,000 back. So I think that's a pretty good deal. 10 to 1. You know, that's what I do in my mind when I'm thinking about working for a client. All right, I'm thinking, okay, I've got to give them 10x what I charge them. So if I charge you 60 grand, I've got to give you $600,000, right? It just depends. It just depends, Adam. Just depends. It could be, I could get that result in a month. You know, I've had people that I've worked with where I've given 20x in less than 30 days. So, you know, then they stick around for a long time when I can do that. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, look, if you look at campaigns, so if you look at Facebook ad campaigns, it's all about scale, right? So, so if you're spending $1 million a month on Facebook ads and you get $4 million back, well, you'd spend $1 million all day long, right? You'd be spending $1 million all day long. So that's a 4 to 1, right? That's not a 10 to 1. That's a 4 to 1 because you got to look at the profit overall, right? So understand that it's all relevant or in contextual to the scale of what you're offering. But I like, you know, like for example, I mentioned that idea where we're saving the client $200,000 a year, right? But over 5 years, he was going to save $1 million, right? So his costs were going to be $2 million, and he was going to save $1 million. And so I charged him 200 grand, right? 20% to save $1 million cash. But that $1 million was net profit. That $1 million went straight back into his business that he could spend on other things, right, in his business. So the value proposition was super valuable, right? You know, one of the questions I would ask everybody, and I would highly encourage you to do this, to say, okay, what's the lifetime value of a client? So if a client's worth, let's say, so for an example, let's pick an accountant. If there's an accounting client, generally 1% of business revenue goes towards accounting services. So $1 million customer is going to spend $10,000 minimum on accounting services in a year. $1 million customers are roughly going to spend 10 grand a year on accounting services. That's just for compliance. That doesn't mean strategy and all that sort of stuff. That's going to be more. So if the average client's worth 10 grand, the average client's going to stay for about 5 years, 5 to 8 years. So the client's worth $50,000. So I would say to the accountant, how much would you pay to buy a $50,000 client? And then I'd say, I'd give you 5 grand for a 50 grand client. So great. So for 10 clients, you give me 50 grand, you'll make 500 grand, right? For 20 clients, you give me 100,000, you'll make $1 million worth of revenue, right? Because that way you can establish a budget, right? That way they're telling you how much they would spend to acquire a customer. So to give an example, a roofing contractor, roofers will spend, if you think about all the volume of leads that they get, roofers will spend $2,000 to $3,000 just to buy a $12,000 to $16,000 roof, right? A roofer will spend $2,000 to $3,000 to get a customer to say yes to a $12,000 to $15,000 roof. So take that $2,000 to $3,000 off the $12,000, you're left with you know, $10,000, $8,000 to $10,000, $9,000 is what their margin is, what they get for doing the roof, right? Those people give discounts all the time. Let me give you 20%. Well, 20% of 20 grand is $4,000 off. So if they're willing to give away $4,000 cash to the customer, then what if they could give me the 4 grand and I'll get them a customer that'll spend 16 grand with them? Yeah. So acquisition cost is what you want to do. Adam Cohen, what about a landscaper? I don't know. How big's the landscaper? Is it a one-man shop, or is it a guy that's got 50 people or 100 people working for him? Is it a design company? Give me an example of the size of company, and I can give you an example of the price point. Because their average sale, landscaping sale, could be anywhere between 5,000 or freaking, you know, I know guys that are working, their average job is a $500,000 to $1 million. Well, that's a completely different scale, Adam. It's a completely different scale. Yeah. So yes. So ask me questions. I'm here to answer them. I'm gonna hang around for another 10 minutes or so. Love to know what your takeaways are. If you can just type in the chat what your takeaways from this session, from this pricing session, what you've learned or something that you're going to apply. 3 crews and upwards. So the average deal is going to be about 30 to 50 grand. So the minimum I would be charging would be $3,000 to $5,000 per customer, minimum. Adam, minimum. 10 clients, that's a lot of money. Yeah. James, how to price at scale? Absolutely, James. You learned how to price at scale. Yeah. What else do you learn? What are the takeaways? I know you've all been on here. I can see all of you here. Julie, have you had a takeaway? Malcolm, any takeaways from you, for you? Steve, Stephanie, Tekas, Tim Berry, any takeaways? Just type them in the chat. The value to the client is what's important. Absolutely, Chris. Absolutely. What would the client pay for the result? It's a lot. It's really weird. Half the time when I do that, they pay more than what I was going to charge. They'll pay more than what I was going to charge. I had a guy sit there, and I was thinking, yeah, you know, it'll be like a $5 grand a month management fee, and he's saying, yeah, well, you know, I would spend 20 grand a month. Really? Okay. Let me help you with that. Right. What else? If we took away anything from what we learned today, that would be good. If you'd like me to help you, just ask, just type in 1. If you've got a microphone, I'll get you on the call here and I'll answer your questions. Any questions? Otherwise, I'm going to go goodbye. Thanks for being here. Lots of value today. Raising prices by 20% after each sale. Yeah, absolutely. Just incrementally increasing the prices, because you get your prices up to, you could actually get your prices, you know, sometimes by doing that, before you know it, you're charging double for the same service. You're getting twice as much money for the same service without increasing any cost. And that's huge. And that shows you where the market is, right? Often people undercharge for what they do. Review your hourly prices. Yes, absolutely. Contact them on all mediums, call, email, social media. Absolutely, Eric. Yeah, you want to get people on the phone. You want to get people to talk to you. You want to meet them at every medium that is available to you in the market. That's what you want to be doing. Yeah. So yes. Any other questions? So Steve says, many of us work from a point of scarcity and don't fully appreciate the pricing, that pricing is relative. Absolutely, absolutely. You know, right now you're in business. As a business owner, you have one obligation: to actually be in business. Being in business means getting a paying customer. That's your goal. You have no other rules in your business right now. Everybody, you should be going. I said the next 2 weeks, every person that's been watching these videos and hopping on my calls every day, your goal is to get 1 customer in the next 2 weeks. 1 client, not 10, 1, the next 1. If you can't get a customer in 2 weeks, I know you haven't been working. I know you haven't been working, because I know I can get a customer in the next hour if I really wanted to, right? I know that I can get a customer in the next 60 minutes. I know I can pull in $1 if I want to, right? So everybody here should be able to get another client in the next 2 weeks. That's 10 working days, 1 customer. What are you doing every day to help a customer talk to you? What are you doing every day? Who are you speaking to? How are you getting 1 conversation a day going? How many offers are you making out there? These are the questions you want to be answering for yourself. If you're not making time to do this, right? If you don't get a customer in 10 days, then I know that you are not working. You're full of shit if you're doing that, right? You're not in business, you're playing in business. I had somebody hop on a webinar one time who'd been following me for like 2 or 3 years, you know, and they said, yeah, I've been in this game for 2 or 3 years. And I said, how many clients have you got? And he says, oh, I'm just starting. I said, but you've been in this game for 2 or 3 years. How the hell are you just starting? You started 2 or 3 years ago. You haven't got a customer. I said, so you haven't been working. You haven't been doing anything. What have you been doing for 2 years? If I worked on something for 2 years, I know I can get a customer. And that's the thing. That's the same thing I say to you. If you can't get a paying customer in the next 10 days, you are not offering your services to enough people, or you're not even speaking to people. You're not even engaging with people. If you don't engage with anybody, then how the hell can somebody buy what you have to offer, right? So when being in business means being in business, you know, means Steve, how many people are you speaking to today? Teas, how many people are you putting an offer out to today? Tim, who are you engaging with today, right? Trent, you know, I know you're on vacation. I shouldn't be asking that question, right? Julie, you know, how many people are you talking to today to help for them to buy your services? What offers are you making out there? Those are the things that you want to be focused on. There's nothing else to do. From that point of view, yes, you're going to have to put some effort in. You're going to have to put some energy in. But all of us have to. If you want to make money, you're going to have to put some energy in. But if you sit there thinking that an email is going to do it for you or cut it for you, then good luck. You'll be out of business before you know it, right? But I'm telling you, you have to push. You have to make time. You have to learn the things you need to learn. We talked about it with Damien Papworth earlier on. Outbound outsells inbound. Outbound outsells inbound, right? Outbound outsells inbound 5 to 1. 5 to 1. The guys that are doing outbound, they're the ones that are growing the fastest. Yeah. There's guys that I know that are cutting 4 clients a week right now in Corona time. 4 sales a week. That's 16 sales a month. Imagine what this is one person, not 5 people. This is one dude doing 4 sales a week. 12 sales a month. 12 sales a month. No, that's 16. Sorry, get my math in. 16 sales in a month. And usually he does 1 to 2 a day. Usually does 1 to 2, right? Right now he's doing 4. Why is he making 4 sales, right? That's because he's banging it out, sending out his emails, following everybody up, talking to people, asking questions, getting better and better and better at his communication skills. And that's why he's closing 4 deals a week. 4 deals a week. Imagine if you can close 4 deals a week. That'd be scary for a lot of people here. Yeah. So that's the thing. What you do, what you focus on most becomes your reality. And if you want to do business, then be in business. And being in business means you actively have to promote, you actively have to engage, you actively have to invite people to take advantage of the offers that you make in the marketplace. That's called being in business. Most people that I come across don't, you know, my big question for a lot of people is how many presentations. By the way, I'm talking $1 million agencies. I've been speaking to $1 million agencies. And I said, how many presentations you do in the last month? 2. Well, what else? You got freaking 50 people in this agency. What are they all doing? Right? Oh, we're working on existing accounts and blah, blah. But we did 2 pitches last month, right? How many new clients did you bring on last month? None. Okay, so no clients last month. We're not adding any additional revenue to the business, right? In what we're doing, new business into the business. We do that for 60 days and we're going to be out of business. Yeah. So even big agencies don't make appointments. It's crazy. It's crazy. But the guys that are crushing it are freaking talking to at least 2 to 5 people a day. Yeah. They're the ones that are making the sales. So Eric says, how much to charge for Facebook ads for a car dealership spending $200K a month on marketing right now? Well, they're spending $200,000 a month on marketing. My question is, where are they spending that marketing money? That's number 1. Number 2, do your homework, like go and find out what the market's like in their local market for their brand. What is the strategy? I mean, you could be charging the guy 20 grand. You know, they might have to give you $20,000 to $30,000 a month in ad spend. You could probably charge the guy 10 grand a month to manage that. Is what I'll be looking at, Eric. You know, but mate, it's your business. You get to pick. I'm not the person who sets the price. You do. So what do you think is fair? If they got 200K a month, they've got to be, you know, take 50 grand of that 200K, put that money towards Facebook, AdWords, and retargeting, and that guy's going to be flat out with sales, because right now everybody's online looking for deals. Yeah. So yeah, take a quarter of his budget, keep 20% of that quarter, take the other 80% and spend it on ads. And that guy's going to probably make more car sales than he will on that 200K budget. And that way you've got a client that's going to pay you $120,000 a year just to run AdWords for 1 customer. That'd be pretty cool. So hopefully that helps you, Eric. Let me know how you go with that deal, by the way. Be good to see if you win it. Any other questions? I'll take another question, then I'm going to say thank you for being here. I've got 5 minutes before I have to hop off. If you want me to help you, just type 1 or ask the question. And then I'm going to say thank you for being here. Any questions? Any questions? Adam Cohen. I'm going to unmute you. Adam, let's have a chat. Let's have a chit chat. Hey, Adam, how you doing?
Hey,
Can
John,
you hear
how are
me?
you doing? Yeah, I can hear
I'm
you.
good,
Can you
mate.
hear me?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So I suppose it's easier than typing. So basically, I've been one of those agencies, as I mentioned to you yesterday, where created packages a lot lower than I should have done. We've signed quite a few
Yeah.
clients, but we're not profitable. So I'm just taking on board what you said based on like value-based pricing. Do you then turn that into a retainer? Because like one of our service offerings is SEO,
Mhm.
and
Yep.
with SEO, of course, we get them ranking, but you see the full benefits for
Has-
SEO from like 6 months onwards, right? For
Yep.
customers.
Yep.
So in terms from a retaining perspective for landscaping customers, and like lawn care
Yep.
businesses and this type of things, what
Mhm.
should we be charging? Should we be charging based on the equivalent of one job a month? Do you see what I mean? Like at that, at whatever their average job value is, divided by 10, but by 10 to come up to a retainer, or
No,
or
what I would do is, so okay, so let's just take a step back, Adam. The first thing I
yeah,
would do is I'd go back to all the existing clients and sell a Google My Business package. If you're doing
sure,
SEO and they're in local
hmm
markets, they need to be buying Google
hmm
My Business, and that should be a paid
sure,
service. And you should do a deal, and that way you're going to make really fast sales really quick with existing customers. That's cash in bank right now, right?
hmm
When we go to the new market for a product offering, what you want to think of, don't sit there and go, well, how much is this worth to the client? You should already know that. Like you should know that going in.
sure.
If you want to know how much landscapers make, just type in Google, how much does a
But
landscaper charge for the
yeah, I know it's
services?
between it depends. Like in the UK, it's a lot lower, but in the
Yep,
US,
yep,
like it's typically 30. In the Arizona area, it's like for a
yep,
pool, it's like 50,000. Like for an average size garden, up to your multi, 100,000 six-figure deals. But like average in
yep,
the US
yep,
is between 30 and 50. Um,
yeah.
my question is,
So,
what do I charge? Bearing in mind we're doing SEO, and you've got to get. We're going to add in some paid advertising at the start to get
yep,
some initial deals for them. But what
yep.
do we charge for that? Like, do I charge
So
a percentage?
SEO is a volume play. SEO is a volume play. So SEO is a standard service, depending on what your strategy is to get them the links and to get them visible.
Yeah,
You're gonna be looking here between at the low end 2 grand, at the high end 5 grand per month is about average, right? Unless
sure.
we're talking a business that's doing massive volume and they understand that search or organic is a big part of their business, those businesses will pay 10, 20, 30. I know companies right now that are spending $100,000 a month on SEO, right?
Oh, of
But
course,
those
yeah,
companies know the value understand the value of organic search, right? And they're
yeah.
big brands. In fact, I saw the other day an audit for SEO audit for $250,000 for Payless shoes, right?
Wow,
Payless
yeah.
shoes paid 250 grand for an
hmm
SEO audit.
hmm
No fix,
Like,
no SEO, just for the audit. And the tools that we
hmm
use to do that audit, Hrefs, DMOZ, and Majestic SEO. Those are
yeah.
the three tools that we use to do that audit. All
hmm
tools that you can go and spend $50 on to get somebody to do an audit for you. They charged a
Sure.
$250,000 for an SEO audit, right?
hmm
And they got it. They paid for it, right? So again, if we look at the markets, we're looking at the pool landscape markets, they don't value SEO. They know that organic traffic is important and being found is important. There's lots of education that has to go in that. So depending on what your strategy is, because you can't, it's really hard to, unless you've got your analytics set up correctly, it's kind of, well, you can actually, it's not hard because you can set the goals up. But if you set up your analytics correctly to actually measure the reflection of how many leads that they get through the SEO,
Yeah,
then you can charge a lot, right? You can charge
sure.
a higher rate. So in terms of SEO, I reckon at that landscaper market, you're probably going to be looking about between 3 and 5 in that
Sure.
market. For strategy, you charge 10 for strategy for those types of businesses. But those businesses, what they want is they want estimates. They want to be visible and they want estimates.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the education is the education to them is estimates in America, quotes in the UK and Australia. They want
Sure.
quotes, right? Because they know that they win jobs on quotes. Yeah. So
Sure.
they're going to sit there and say, we need a strategy from you, Adam, that's going to put quotes, I want to get, how many quotes do you want over and above what you got right now? How many sales, what's your conversion rate on a quote, right? If I put 10 quotes in front of you, how many of those people will buy after you quoted them. And they might say, well, we'll probably get 1 in 10 or 2 in 10, right?
They
So
always
great,
lie.
you've got 8. Yeah, they'll always lie. They'll say, oh, 50%. So, well, I don't think so. I think that tells me then right now. So that means right now, if you had, what's your, like I say, what's your average quote rate per month? And I say, yeah, we'll probably do about 15 quotes a month. Great. And so what's your conversion rate? They go 50%. So you got 7 pull jobs on at the moment. No, right? So it's not 50%, right? So 7 pull jobs at 50 grand a pop. That's, you know, $350,000 in pull jobs. Wow. You know, you're running a $3.8 million company, yeah, right now, which is pretty cool, right? And I go, oh, no, it's not that, right? So generally you'll find it's 1 in 10 to 2 in 10. 1 in 10 to 2 in 10 is a deal, right? So
Okay,
that means the opportunity cost is 8.
My last question is, I'm quite knowledgeable in terms of CRMs and email marketing on that side of things. So I was looking at basically providing an end-to-end solution for these clients, because I know a big problem for a lot of landscaping businesses is that a lot of them are quite old-fashioned in how they do things, in terms of their customers are stored in a notebook. If I could provide a complete end-to-end solution and package that up, so we're going to get you your leads, we're going to, you know, get you visible, get you leads, and we're going to provide you a solution where you can provide an amazing customer experience, from, like, you know, from the click to invoice to repeat customer. That's worth big money, eh? Like I've worked out a process to
only
do
worth
this.
only worth big money. Only worth big money to somebody who values it. It's not worth big money to a guy that's not doing it right now, because that means you have to educate him, right? And if you have to educate him, that means that's your opportunity cost. So you have to come in with a system and say, this is what it looks like, right? So right now we have a system, right? We have a system. In that system, we've got a funnel. And we've got a back-end management system that manages all the leads. And we have a tracking thing that we can actually analyze the sales, and we can see the whole thing end to end. Well, we charge $8,000 just to set that up for you. 8 grand. It's the same for everybody. It doesn't cost us 8 grand, but we charge 8 grand to set it up, right? That's the starting point. Then we charge you a minimum of 5 grand a month to manage that back-end system, right? Plus you've got to give us another $2,000 in ad spend on top of that. So it's going to cost you 7 grand a month, right? Plus $8,000 up front. Now that's for a physical therapist. We're going to sell a lot of planning care to make that money back, right? So a business owner, if you're doing end-to-end packaging, what you want to be doing is you want to break up and say, okay, integration and setup of a database, if you were smart about it, you should be charging, the least that I would be charging would be 6 grand. The least just to set up a CRM for somebody, about 6 grand, right? 10 grand is about the average for integrating, taking all your current data and putting all of that in to the market. Yeah, sorry, you've lost, hang on. Your sound's gone off, Adam. So if I was setting up a CRM for somebody, my integration costs would be at the low end, like this would be cheap, 6 grand. At the high end, at the standard end, it would be at least up to $10,000 for the integration. Then mapping that all out, and then dumping their leads, running their first campaigns. I'd probably be looking at about 5 grand a month is what I'd be charging to manage that. That doesn't include managing Facebook ads. That doesn't include email marketing. That doesn't include that. That's on top of that. So your client should be spending probably about 7.5 to 10 grand a month with you if you're going to if you're going to manage it for them end to end. Yeah, I know people do it cheaper, by the way, but you know, I think that's just sheer stupidity. They're leaving tons of money on the table. So at the low end of the market, there are people that are charging roughly 2 grand a month to manage ad campaign and email marketing on the back end. They use High Level as a service, which is great, you know, they can manage all the leads in that portion. So yeah, I think I've lost you there. I've lost you there, Adam. Hopefully that helps you answer that question. How big a company are you say should be working with on that example? Any company that's 5 million up, 5 million. I would say 2 million at the low end, 5 million at the high end. in that sweet spot gap. Anybody that's a $5 million company needs to build a database. If they're not managing their customers on databases, they're screwed. So I believe any company should be on it. All of you here should have a database you should be working. James Hunter, good to see you here. What's that script again to get automated appointments on LinkedIn? I'm not sure what you mean by that, James. So what's the script again to get automated appointments on LinkedIn? Do you have a microphone so I can get context on that question, James, so I can answer that question directly? Just type yes if you've got a microphone. I'll unmute you and I'll answer your question specifically. James, I don't know what you mean by that. You need to give me a clearer question. James Hunter, if you've got a microphone, just type yes, and then I'll respond to your question. I'll unmute you and then we can talk about it. Anyleads.com is a scraping tool you can use for LinkedIn to generate a whole bunch of leads, if that's what you're talking about. James, where are you, James? James. Yeah. G'day, James, how you doing? You can talk. You there, James? Just unmuted you, mate. Just check your microphone. Try again. Not letting me unmute you. Hang on. Nah. Don't know why that's not working. You're in the subway. Mate, if you've got your mic set on, your audio, make sure your audio's on. I can unmute you and I can answer your question, James. Not working. Sorry, mate. Any other questions? Trent. There might be, Trent. I don't know if there's a way to do that, but what I would do is I would do a Loom, for people. Then you can just copy paste the link to the Loom video in a direct message. That's the easiest one, so people can see that the video's there. But in terms of embed, no, I don't think you can. I'm not sure if that's something that they allow to happen. That's probably something that they'll probably work on as a feature. So yeah. Yeah, Loom video is very powerful on if you're going to do Loom, because people do click on the Looms. Any other questions? I'll take another question. I'm not sure, James, unless you can elaborate what you meant by script, I can answer that question, but obviously your microphone's not working. But I'll take one more question, and I'm going to say thank you for being here, because I've got to get to another meeting. So I'll take one more question. Anybody got a question they'd like to ask me? If you want some help, if you want me to mute you and have a quick chat with me, you can do that. I can still see all of you here. It's amazing that all of you have sticking around, which is good to see. Chris, 3 Chris's, Eric, George, Howard, James, Malcolm, good to see you here still. Mark, Michael, Scott, Stephanie, good to see you, Stephanie. Tim Berry, I'm happy to take one more question. One more question. I still don't know what you mean by the script, but anyway. All right, I'm going to say thank you. Nobody's got any questions. Nobody wants my help. I appreciate that. I wish you all the very best. This recording is going to be put up into the Facebook group. If you go to consultingunleashed.com/go, then all the information, YouTube channel, Consulting Unleashed Facebook group, if you're not in there already. Also, because as I said, we're uploading our videos daily into those areas, so you're going to see the replays. Same time, same bat channel tomorrow. I want to talk about some other cool stuff tomorrow in terms of strategy, but I look forward to seeing you on these calls. So thank you all for being here. Michael says I give too much. Thank you, James. I appreciate that. I look forward to seeing you on tomorrow's strategy session. We're going to do some really cool stuff tomorrow. Talk about how to convert clients, how to have those conversations, openers, that sort of stuff, things that you can do to get into those important conversations of generating sales. So thank you for hanging with me. Have an awesome day. I look forward to seeing you on tomorrow's session. Also, remember, go and reach out to one person today. Have a positive conversation, an optimistic conversation with at least one person. See how they're going. I know we're socially in lockdown still in most of the Western world, so it's really good to say hi to at least one person per day. So with that, thanks for being here. I will see you on tomorrow. Take care, everybody.